Today I'm going to reveal the cold hard reality on how nomads earn 6 figures a year and become wealthy living abroad. If you're interested in earning anywhere from $100,000 to $250,000 a year without building a crazy business, then this is the video that you've been waiting for. I'm going to give you 2 essential things that you have to have in order to do this. And then I'm also going to throw in some analysis. We're going to crunch some numbers, okay? Let's get started with the first thing that you absolutely have to have in order to become wealthy. This is not rocket science. You have to have an average IQ, okay? You cannot be mentally. The good news is that the majority of people watching this video are not mentally. 2/3 of people, and this depends on the statistics of whatever country, but as a rule of thumb, 2/3 of the general population, we're talking now about the Western Hemisphere, have an average IQ. So we're talking about an IQ ranging from 85 to 115. Yes, you heard me right. 2/3 of people have an IQ in this range. It's a pretty large range actually. And the good news that I have for you in this video, if you fall in this range, okay? And again, depending on the country, the statistics vary. Whether you're located in Greenland, Indiana, United States, Montreal, Canada, whether you're located in Austria, in Spain, it varies a lot. But it's roughly 2/3. So 2/3 of the people watching this video will have an average IQ. And the good news is, as long as you have an average IQ, you can earn 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, and even 7 figures a year online. This ain't no joke. Look at a lot of the people that earn that kind of money. Yes, it's like the top 10% in many countries, and in some countries it's the top 3 to 5%. In America, earning $100,000 a year is actually not that great anymore. If you earn multiple 6 figures a year, then you got a good life. But $100,000 a year is not bad, because you got taxes, right? You have high living expenses, but we're nomads. If we have an income of say $100,000 to $250,000 a year, then with that kind of money, we can live pretty well abroad. Now, what does this mean to you? Most of you guys will qualify. So like I said, you cannot be mentally. If you want to succeed online, you have to have an average IQ. You need to have some sort of intelligence. You need to have some cognitive abilities, right? You need to have some basic skills and some basic abilities to make money online. I hope this makes sense. Now, if you thought like, wow, I thought I needed to have an IQ above 130. You know, that's not true. You know how few people have an IQ of 135, 140? Very few people, maybe 1 to 2% of the population. And in fact, many people that are really smart, and I call this a genetic fluke, they're actually not successful in business, okay? They work as researchers, okay? They're scientists. And sometimes they're lazy butts too. So just because you got a high IQ does not make you a rich person. There's a lot more to it than just having a lot between your 2 ears. You need the second thing that we're going to talk about in this video, so make sure you watch this whole video. You don't have to have an IQ of 130, 140, forget it. But if you have an IQ of 60, 65, this may not work for you, and you might not even be able to watch this video and understand the points that I'm addressing right here, right now. Even if you had an IQ of just 82, you might still be able to make 6 figures a year, because there are a couple of other things that you can do as well. So if you're a little bit dumber than the average or a little bit smarter than the average, this might not affect you very much. But the second thing, which we're going to talk about now, okay, which is your work ethic. This is like the beginning, the middle, and the end. You can have as much intelligence as you want, but if you're unable to put things to work, guess what? You're not going to make any money, because there are people with an average IQ, like the person talking to you right here, that is willing to put in tremendous effort in order to build a business. And those type of people, including myself, and hopefully you guys watching at home, will have a much greater chance of excelling in business because you're putting in the work. For instance, I have a friend, he's very intelligent. He told me about all the great grades he was able to accumulate during his golden years in school. I applauded him for that. I'm like, you are gifted, right? You're blessed, you know? I also called him a genetic fluke because he said, this is not proportionate. I'm like, okay. But he doesn't utilize it, okay? He does not work hard. He does not run a business, right? He doesn't do these things. And so even though he got a high IQ, he claims to have an IQ of 149, which is like very, very rare, okay? Like the majority of people watching this video, like less than 1% will have that kind of IQ. That's just the truth. But he can't make it work because he doesn't have the right work ethic. He doesn't have the vision. So when we're talking about work ethic, it's your ability, if necessary, to block yourself in the room for as many hours as it takes to create the business. This is the beginning, the middle, and the end. Like, you can have as much brain or as little brain as you want. If you cannot do this, you will never be successful, because this is where it starts. Unless you inherited a lot of money or unless you arbitraged off of people, there are a few exceptions here. But if you want to build, we're talking about building a business here, okay? $100,000 100,000 plus a year, which is pretty easy to do, or even 200 to 300,000 a year, 250,000 a year, whatever. It's also pretty easy to do. Any person watching this video, or the majority of people watching this video, will have the intelligence to do that. But your intelligence needs to be backed by work ethic, hustle. And there's this quote, the dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. Just think about this quote. The dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. And this is very true. Like, you can dream as much as you want. Don't get me wrong. It's very important to have vision. However, you have to put in the work. And even someone like Mark Cuban says that, right? So he hustled, and he's a hustler. He still is. He's working his butt off because he knows there are a ton of people in China, in India, in all kinds of different countries worldwide trying to take him over. So he understands that he's got to put in the work. You know, it doesn't matter how much experience, skills, or smarts he has. Without the work ethic, nothing will ever happen. And he might actually lose his status. The right work ethic is sweat equity, okay? That's what you need, sweat equity. It's you putting in the work to develop the skills. We're talking about as much time as it takes. If you're a young buck, if you're in your 20s, 30s watching this video right now and you're like, hey, I'm building this business and I want to get to the next level, and you're just pulling in enough money to supply for your income, that's perfectly fine. But if you want to get to the next level, okay, you've got to put in more work, and also you've got to use more of your smarts, right? You've got to build a company. It's going to be a small company because we're talking about $100,000 to $300,000 a year. That's not a huge company, right? It's a small online business. And like I said, anybody can do this, right? With an average IQ or even slightly below average or above, doesn't matter, you can do this. Just a quick note here on sweat equity. When I started my first business and I had zero skills, but what I had was a desire to grow and a desire to be successful. That's all I had going for myself. I didn't have any skills. I never thought that I was really gifted, talented, whatever you want to call it. I just had a dream and I was willing to put in the work. It took me about 18 months to have a full-time income. That was back in 2010, 2011. I really worked my butt off. I worked crazy hours, okay, 12 to 16 hours a day because I had to make up for the time that I wasn't able to spend before. When I was in school, when I worked, it wasn't really wasted time because I learned skills and I learned what I didn't like. But once I got online, I quickly realized that, wow, these people are so far ahead of me, I gotta make up. And so I just put in the time for like a year, so I didn't take a single day off. Maybe like an afternoon sometimes to see a friend before I left for Asia, but that was it. Now, I'm not advocating that you should be putting in 80 to 100 hours a week. If you already have a family or if you have a job, other commitments, your time might be limited, right? But if you're a single guy with no commitments, the only thing that you're working on right now is this business of yours, whether it's a service-based business, affiliate marketing, whether you're selling products, coaching, whatever your business might be, you've got to put in more time. You've got to optimize your business model, okay? And you can only do that by increasing your sweat equity. Sweat equity is an asset. It's a skill, and you need it. Being proactive is also part of your hard work ethic. Trust me about this. I'm going to certain countries, like for instance, I'm right now in Spain, and people here are very passive, okay? And this might not be a good thing in many cases, and I'm a very proactive person, you know. If I go to, let's say, the hospital and I want to get a result or I want to get the answer and I want to be waiting a couple of weeks before I can see the doctor, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to say, this is an emergency, okay? I'm only here for so much time. I want to get this done right now. And people here are more like, he has time, and you know, because the problem with people is that they always think that everybody thinks like them. That's the problem with people. With me too, with everyone, with you probably too. Everyone is like that. However, it's really important for us to understand that being proactive in business, going out there, searching for solutions, trying to get the answers from the right person, you know, whatever it might be, whatever proactive means in your business, right? Whatever being proactive means in your business, you've got to go out and do that, because there might be people with far less intelligence than you who are much more proactive than you, and because of this little hidden secret trait, they get ahead twice as fast as you. Do you want that? Do you want to be outworked by some guy that's more proactive than you? I personally don't want that. I want to outwork people and outsmart them. So being proactive is a really, really important skill that is part of your hard work ethic. Being resourceful, another really important part, right? You can be resourceful in so many ways. Just try to develop new skills. Try to find things that get you excited. You know, you want to be working things that you can get excited about. This is like also the beginning, the middle, and the end. Like if you're in a business that you can't get excited about, if you're in a business just to make the money and you're putting in the hard work, you might be able to make a lot of money, but you might never really feel fulfilled. And you might also not be able to scale the business to the same point another person did because they just had more passion, more vision, and more purpose than you. So you don't have to absolutely love every part of the process, but you've got to have some love for what you're doing. I think this is really, really important, yet it is downplayed by so many YouTubers. You have to have that, because at the end of the day, I mean, there's so many people that are saying it's not important, and then you look at them and they're still not really getting to the level where they're supposed to be or where they could be. Being honest and being genuine, also two traits that are part of the hard work ethic. These two things, like being honest, honesty, authenticity, these two things, they are highly underrated today, and people are not really putting the attention on these things. They don't think they're as important as they used to be. I totally don't agree with that. Eventually people will figure out what you're up to, so make sure you don't forget these little things, because they do make a big difference in your life and business. If you want to get to $100,000 to $300,000 a year in revenue in your business, you have to have everything that I just discussed with you right here, right now. Let's talk numbers. How do you get from 0 to 100,000 a year? This is the magical question, and I'm now mentoring people. I'm talking to people that want to get from 0 to 100,000 a year. It's actually not very difficult to do, but what it takes for you is to have a product or service to sell. To make that kind of money, you don't need 10 products or 10 services. If you have the right product or service and you have sufficient traffic, you can fulfill that mark pretty easily, okay? You can pretty easily get there. Now, what's important to note here is that we're not going to talk now about what kinds of, products and services you can sell. This is not the point of the video. What we are talking about here are numbers. So most businesses online have roughly a 70% profit margin. Yes, it depends on the size of the business. Yes, it depends on how many employees you have, but we're talking about a business that generates 100,000 a year. It's never going to be 100% profit. Why is it not 100% profit? Well, you got tools, you got websites, you still have some workers, you have assistants, whatever, right? It's not going to be 100%. With that being said, a 70% profit margin, let's say you're pulling in 100,000 a year, leaves you with a $70,000 pre-tax profit, okay, not after tax. So depending on where you're situated, your company, you might have to pay corporate taxes, or if you have like an LLC, like an S Corp, that money goes straight through to the owner, which is you, and then you pay your personal income taxes from that profit that you withdrew from the company, right? That's what an S Corp LLC does. But let's say you don't have an S Corp LLC in America. Let's say you have like a regular company and you are utilizing a territorial tax system like the one in Paraguay or a different country. Well, guess what? If your tax residency says, and you don't have any other obligations in any other country, your tax residency says that overseas income is not taxed, then that would be 100% tax-free. So that 70,000 would be tax-free. That's a lot better than if you were to pay 20 to 25% taxes on $70,000 of income. And that's why it's a big difference, right? But to make $100,000, to have a $100,000 a year business that, you manage to build with like a service or a product, a coaching program, whatever, is actually quite easy to do. And you can usually do it with like 1 to 3 employees. A lot of the times people just have like contract workers, they hire someone for certain stuff. Let's say for their website, or let's say they need some video editing done, right? You don't need to hire people full-time to do that. You just hire people on a project basis. That's how you do it. And oftentimes you might actually have a higher profit margin, right? You might actually have an 80% profit margin or 90% or maybe even close to 100%. Why? Because you're doing everything yourself. But once you scale the business, okay, once you're getting more customers, there's more content to create, there are just more things to do, guess what? Your profit margin decreases because you no longer have the time to do all these things. And let's say this is the point where you're like at 100,000 and you're looking to go to 250,000. And oftentimes what happens in this window is that people see a decrease in profit margin because they have to outsource certain stuff. Okay, now the business is getting bigger. You yourself can no longer alone handle the customer support. You yourself can no longer handle all the social media. You can no longer create all the content. You can no longer do all the editing, whatever, right? The customer support, whatever is part of your business, you can no longer do it because your business is growing, right? And you're just one person. It's just a one-man show. Or maybe you had like a contract worker, whatever. At this point, once your business expands to the multiple 6 figures a year, you do need more help. And because of that, you need to outsource and your profit margin decreases. This is common sense stuff, but with an average IQ, you can do this. And again, this is like the majority of people watching this video. You can create this kind of business, okay? Multiple 6 figures a year is not very difficult to do. It's actually quite easy to do. You got to specialize, not generalize, and you need good work ethic. That's all you really need. Once your business gets to like 250,000 a year, you might see a 65% profit margin or a 68% profit margin or 72%, right? Anything is possible here in this window, but it will not be 100% because you got to outsource. So again, to summarize, the 2 things that you need to really make this kind of money is an average IQ and a good work ethic. This is it. The rest of the stuff, you'll figure it out along the way. If you want to go from 250,000 to $1 million a year, that takes a whole new skill set. Why? because it takes a bigger team. You alone can no longer do this, not even with 2 to 3 employees. It's usually not enough. You need a lot more people, you need a lot more skill, and you need management skills, okay? You need to be able to hire the right people, you need managers, you need a COO, you need a different skill set. You need to have a bigger vision, and you need to have more hunger, and you need to be good at managing people and just implementing certain executive tasks, okay? Because the responsibilities change. Business grows, you need more customer support, you need more tools, you need a lot more. Content creation, for everything, for sales, marketing, you just need more, right? It's the only way to grow the business is by doing more. So if you want to go from $250,000 to $1 million a year, that's a whole other story that we'll discuss in a future video. Do you have any questions about this video, and where are you currently at in your online journey? How much money are you currently making as a nomad? Share your thoughts in the comments below. As always, I appreciate you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.